give information about the role of mushrooms in human nutrition and health. Actually, this talk I had already presented a few years ago in Association of Fungal Biologists as an initial talk, but subsequently I have improved the presentation, improved information, adding some recent developments with regard to role of mushrooms in human nutrition and health. And it largely speaks about our experience and some literature information pertain to nutrition of nutritional advantages of mushrooms and also medicinal value of mushrooms. We all know that plants, animals, and fungi are distinctly different because plants can trap the photons and they prepare carbohydrates, whereas animals have the specificity with regard to digestive system or gastrointestinal system, and they are unique in their digestive processes. And fungi, they neither uh, trap photons nor they have the gastrointestinal system, and they have lot of they can produce lot of enzymes and metabolites, and enzymes can be secreted out and digest the material outside, organic material, and extract the energy from that. Uh, so this is feature with regard to two different types of mushrooms. One is agaric and puff balls, that is basidiomycetes. The next second panel is the cup flask and truffles, and the cup fungi, it is open, and ascomycetes one, like Peziza like. Second one is flask fungus. And when you cut the stroma of xyleria and also cordyceps, you will get flask-like structures. Inside, we can see a lot of asci, and ascospores will be released from the opening like that. It is a cross section of stroma. Third one is the truffle. It is underneath the soil, and it is ascomycete, and it is also ectomycorrhizal, associated with different types of plant species. It is everybody is aware of that. With regard to macrofungal diversity, the first and foremost thing comes to our mind is the morphologically diverse group of mushrooms. So they have gills. Very commonly, we can say agarics with gills. It is very common, and several other features. Instead of gill, they may have tooth-like structures. Some of them will have shape of trumpet. Some of them are bulbous, and instead of gills, they have pores, polypores, and some of them are cup-like or pot-like, and some of them are referred as earth tongues or seaweed-like, and many of them are puff balls oozing spores from the tip of the bulbous region, and some of them referred as earth stars. They looks like stars on the ground and with specific features. And stink horns are another type, the horn-like, and they have very good perforations, and the fruit body is very unique. And some of them are referred as bird nest fungi. I will show you some of the pictures later. Some of them looks like cauliflower. Like that, there are varieties of shapes for the mushrooms. In order to identify them with the basic uh, morphological feature is very important, and it can be connected to our day-to-day life, whatever we can see, umbrella-like or bird nest-like or cauliflower-like, like that. So this is the picture showing nearly 20 different species are edible in the west coast of in the Western Ghats of India, especially in Kurg district. So that is ethnic knowledge of several tribals in Western Ghats are in a position to identify which are all the edible mushrooms. And you can see the Astrius, and this is Flavopus portensis, Flavopus marginatus, and these of them are uh, Thermatomyces, and that is different types of edible. These are all edible mushrooms eaten by some of the tribals. Although wild mushrooms are, people may be scared to eat wild mushrooms unless they are very particular about its non-poisonous nature. But termitomyces, those fungi growing, mushrooms growing on termite mounds are very edible. And this is again a group of termitomyces, different termitomyces species, and also the Astreus species. There are two, we have studied with two Astreus species, one Astreus hygrometricus and Astreus odoratus. And this is how they look on the surface of the soil, where it is attached with the roots of plants. So you can see very clearly the last panel. It shows that how this bulbous nature has entangled with the roots of some of the plants, as it is ectomycorrhizal. And unlike that of the geostrum, it is erratically opens up. There is no specific the region where they can boost the spores. Instead, it erratically opens. But in fact, the geostrum or the stars will be identified based on the tip where it is going to push the spores outside. Whereas here, the whatever the segments that is going to separate out, it is erratic, not exactly like that of the geostrum. And this looks like a baby potato once you clean it up. And this is one of the delicacy in Mangalore and other areas, and even Western Ghats also people are eating this mushroom. And it is ectomycorrhizal, therefore preservation of such type of plant material is also very important. So I am projecting these two fungi that has been erected very recently, Amanita conagensis. It is edible and of course it is medicinal too. And secondly, Amanita hemibapa. This is highly colorful, but it is edible. And the Amanita conagensis eaten at the egg stage or the beak stage or the dumbbell stage, not at the when it matures. The question comes, why they are not eating the full, that is mushroom that has already grown up, like. So most likely it is going to accumulate amatoxin at the later stage rather than the initial stage. Therefore, the tribals and some local people in this area eats the egg-shaped and also beak-shaped, ball-shaped amanita rather than fully grown mushrooms. So let us speak about some of the nutritional aspects pertaining to mushrooms. Any food material is concerned, one has to look to evaluate the proximal qualities. What are the proximal qualities? Like proteins, fiber, lipid, carbohydrates, all such things. And second important nutritional property is minerals. Minerals or macro and micro minerals are very, very important. You know very well, magnesium deficiency is already there because of many reasons. And protein fractions. Protein can be fractionated, and it is possible to find out whether these fractions are, especially globulin fraction is going to have more of toxins. Therefore, globulin less food is always good. And essentially, these indispensable amino acids, these amino acids taken in our food rather than synthesizing in our body. And similarly, unsaturated fatty acids are very important for human nutrition. With regard to proximal features of mushrooms concerned, crude protein range 35%. Here, if you say 19%, it is equivalent to that of green gram. And 35% refers to the soya bean. So the protein content is very high, but the total lipid content ranges from 2 to 5%. It is low. So therefore, low lipid, high protein material or the food material with low lipid and high protein is always advantageous for human consumption. Similarly, the crude fiber is very important for human nutrition, and the range is 78% and it is high. Carbohydrates is moderate, 15 to 30%, and the calorific value of mushrooms is moderate, not so high, not so low, it is moderate. So with regard to minerals, the microfungi are very rich in minerals, many major minerals, and also rich in some of the trace elements. These are all very important for human nutrition. And if you evaluate any mushroom, if you evaluate sodium and potassium ratio, it is very, very important. If the sodium potassium ratio is less than 1, it is advantageous because it is going to bring down the blood pressure in human being. Therefore, any food material it is having less than sodium potassium ratio, less than 1 sodium potassium ratio is advantageous. Similarly, the calcium and phosphorus ratio more than 1 is desirable because it is going to retain the calcium in our body, and the loss of urine, loss of calcium in the urine will be prevented, and the loss of calcium from the bone will be prevented. Therefore, any food material it is having more, that is more than 1, that is the ratio of calcium potassium, will be advantageous. Why I'm discussing about this? Because if you take a mushroom, we are not really eating the raw mushroom, and we are going to process it. The processing includes steaming or pressure cooking, or we may go for microwave cooking, or any type of cooking we are going to perform with traditional materials or with traditional materials. So under that context, what happens to the sodium potassium ratio? So for example, we are going to cook the mushroom with lot of water. What happens? All these minerals will drain away, and therefore we will not get the sufficient nutrients in the minerals in the mushroom. Therefore, the water should be limited, and it may be steamed, or it may be limited water can be added while cooking the mushrooms. So it is customary to evaluate proteins in the mushrooms, and as usual with other material like legumes or any type of vegetable what we use, like we can fractionate into albumin, prolamins, and glutamines. So these are the 4 important. This can be performed in a laboratory by simple means, and I am projecting here as AG ratio, albumin and globulin ratio is very important with regard to protein fractions are concerned. If you follow a particular method of cooking, what happens to the albumin globulin ratio? Will it be high or will it be low, like that? So the AG ratio high is desirable. That means the globulin level will be less. That means most of the poisonous materials, poisonous constituents are associated with the globulin fraction. Therefore, when globulin level is low, then that is the ratio is high ratio is desirable. When it is low means the nutritionally it is versatile. That's how the AG ratio is very important in human nutrition, and that can be fulfilled using some of the mushrooms by various means of cooking and other processes. So let us think about the essential amino acids, referred as indispensable amino acids. And everyone is aware that vegetarians are deprived of methionine, threonine, and tryptophan. These 3 amino acids come from the animal meat and other animal products, but vegetarians are deprived of that. But mushrooms, surprisingly, almost all edible mushrooms are going to meet these requirements. Methionine, threonine, and tryptophan will be there in these mushrooms. Then, therefore, it is going to fulfill it is going to meet the deficiency. Then we can think of total essential amino acids and total amino acids. It is increase is desirable. That means the ratio, if it increases between 2 different processes. If you take a raw mushroom, what is the ratio? If you take a cooked mushroom, what is the ratio? Or any other processes, what is the ratio? So that is increase in the ratio is always beneficial. That means essential amino acid level is high, like that. And there are other varieties of parameters earmarked by the FAO, WHO, especially with regard to essential amino acid score. Essential amino acid score is one of the parameters to evaluate or assess a mushroom or a food material, whether it fulfill essential amino acids or not, or indispensable amino acids or not. So for that, we can use the ratio, that is amino acid content in the test protein. For example, our mushroom, milligram per gram, and FAO, WHO essential amino acid reference pattern in milligram per gram. It is going to provide you the ratio, and this score, this essential amino acid score, should be more than 1. That is desirable. That means the FAO, WHO always insists that food material with more, that is the score more than, is advantageous for human being. Let us look into other parameters like the other parameters like protein bioavailability. So although protein is present, food material or the mushrooms, and whether it is really available, bioavailable or not, that is very important here. And we can evaluate in vitro protein digestibility. Of course, we can use in vivo digestibility too, using some of the experimental animals. But now in vivo digestibility need not necessarily be necessary, because in vitro protein digestibility is equivalent to that of in vivo protein digestibility. It can be easily done in the laboratory without sacrificing the animal. That is, protein in the digest divided by protein in the defatted flour. That is, the lipid is removed into 100 gives you IVPD in percent, like that. So another parameter is protein digestibility corrected to amino acid score. That is another parameter where PDCAS will be calculated using essential amino acid in the test protein divided by essential amino acids in the reference pattern, that is FAO-WHO reference pattern, into percent IVPD is going to provide you PDCAS for essential amino acid. By that, you can evaluate whether it is going to meet the requirement or not. Protein digestibility corrected to amino acid score can be evaluated for all 10 to 11 essential indispensable amino acids. Therefore, we can say, for example, lysine rich. See, once upon a time, lysine rich wheat has been produced. So that means, because lysine is very, very essential, and it is very important amino acid. Similarly, sulfur containing amino acids, or whatever I mentioned, 2, 3 amino acids are deficient for vegetarians. So another parameter is protein efficiency ratio. It is referred as PER, that can be calculated by various means. That is protein efficiency ratio depending upon the specific essential amino acid again. And there are 3 formulas, PER1, 2, and 3. And this is the formula one can utilize and find out whether PER is more than, that is the protein efficiency ratio is less than 1, is less than 1.5 is referred as poor food material. And those having 1.5 to 2 protein efficiency ratio is a moderately good material. And those more than 2 is referred as high quality food material. Therefore, protein efficiency ratio is going to depict the quality of the food that is either unprocessed or processed or cooked, or whatever type of processing we are going to evaluate to mushroom for consumption purpose. Next feature is fatty acids. As everybody is aware that saturated fatty acids, unsaturated fatty acids can be evaluated in mushrooms, and essential fatty acids, just like that of essential amino acids. So there are omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids, and linolenic, linoleic, eicosapentaenoic, eicosanoic acid. These are all omega-6 and omega-3, linolenic, docosahexaenoic acid, eicosapentaenoic acid, or omega-3 fatty acids. The ratio is, so with regard to fatty acids, there are several ratios can be looked into. Total unsaturated fatty acids divided by total saturated fatty acids. This ratio increase is always desirable. That means increase in the ratio means the unsaturated fatty acids should be more, like that. Similarly, we can think of that is total polyunsaturated fatty acids divided by total monounsaturated fatty acid. Again, increase is desirable. That is, polyunsaturated should be more, this should be less. Like so, there you can also evaluate the different parameters can be used in order to evaluate the saturated fatty acids like beta-decanoic acid and palmitic and stearic acid, like that. Similarly, we can also think of unsaturated fatty acids, that is the linoleic, and the ratio decrease is desirable always. That is 18:1 divided by 18:2. That is decrease is always desirable. So another parameter is omega-6 and omega-3 ratio. So decrease is always desirable. That means more of that is less of omega-6 and more of omega-3. But of course, we are enjoying omega-6 as omega-3 as usual, but more of omega-3 will be advantageous. So here I have written certain features like fatty acids. They are very important as they stearic acid is very important as hypocholesterolemic than fatty acid 16, that is saturated palmitic acid. So, of course, when you start cooking a mushroom, what happens? Some of the unsaturated fatty acids will be transformed into unsaturated fatty acids. And many occasions, omega-9 fatty acids will be converted to omega-6 fatty acids. And omega-6 will be converted to omega-3. Like that, there are some advantages with regard to is concerned. Therefore, one has to be vigilant about how this is going to change and how it is going to meet the human requirement. So this another ratio is omega-6 and omega-3, as I mentioned, and it is important to combat the cardiovascular ailment. And omega-C ratio 2.5 is very important. It reduces the proliferation of colorectal cancer. And similarly, omega-6, omega-3 ratio, that is 2 to 3, combats the rheumatoid arthritis, another important feature. And the ratio 5 is advantageous to patients of asthma. So now, the FAO-WHO has recommended the ratio of 5 to 10 is desirable. This is whatever the food material it is having, omega-6, omega-3 ratio 5 to 10 is always desirable for human health benefit. So now the food habits are changed, and we are all succumb for varieties of lifestyle diseases. And if you look into the Paleolithic diets, where our forefathers are using the diet, and the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio was 0.79. It is really amazing. It is below 1 ratio, the 0.79. But the modern diet is having 1 and between 1 and 50. So this is the range. Means that's the reason, that may be one of the major reasons for our lifestyle diseases nowadays, because we are not worried about the nutritional qualities, and also the Paleolithic diet was a traditional diet is very, very useful. Even people likes it because the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio was 0.79. So this is how we can evaluate food material for various aspects pertain to its qualities, in like proteins, amino acids, and minerals, and the fatty acids. And what else we have in mushrooms? Sometime earlier, Professor Dr. Sunil Kumar Deshmukh has already mentioned about the pigments, gave a talk about the pigments, and a lot of food grade pigments can be produced by mushrooms. And they are also good in vitamins, especially A and C. And the mushrooms are also good flavoring agents. Flavors and essence can be obtained from them. And they are low in nucleic acid content. It is a very, very important aspect to think of, because if the nucleic acid content is high, we are ending up with kidney stones. But see, for example, algae can be cultivated because it is going to trap the photons and produce a lot of biomass. And it can be produced and it can be used for human food also. But the nucleic acid content of algae will be very high, especially the microalgae, very high. And therefore, it is not feasible for human nutrition. But for cattle or the livestock, it is okay, because they are not affected by high amount of nucleic acid. They will not suffer from kidney stone because of high nucleic acid. So therefore, for human beings, the nucleic acid content is less in mushrooms, and it is valuable. And there are a lot of functional properties can be evaluated. When you take a mushroom, it has a lot of polysaccharides and probably gelling properties and water holding capacities, oil holding capacity, and several other functional properties can be evaluated, and to fulfill based on our experience with regard to dermatomyces and astreus and several other Wolverella, Wolvacea, they are all meeting some of these, because the functional properties can, for example, foaming property or emulsion properties. If it is a good emulsifier, it can be, it is going to produce a good emulsifying agent, and it can be used as an emulsifier. And if it is gelling property is very good, it can be used in ice cream. Like that, depending upon the type of food material, if the functional properties of several mushrooms is going to meet the requirement, therefore, it can be fine-tuned for the purpose of our needs. Whether we are going to prepare ice cream, or whether you are going to prepare a gel, or whether you are going to prepare a beverage, depending on our interest. So now let us pass on to the second phase of this talk, that is major health concern. I am going to complete it within 10 minutes. So it has the medicinal and nutritionally beneficial, and also medicinally beneficial, and prevention of lifestyle diseases. For example, many of them have antimicrobial properties and anti-HIV properties, cytotoxic properties, anti-tumor properties, anti-diabetic properties, anti-Alzheimer's properties. These are all proved functions, proved properties of several mushrooms, wild mushrooms as well as cultivated mushrooms. Uh, so now let us look into this diagram. It shows that several mushrooms are growing on the elephant dung in the Western Ghats region. We have taken some of the pictures. So it is not all of them are hallucinogenic or psychedelic, but very few of them are hallucinogenic or psychedelic. That is, it is going to the hallucinogenic property is there, but these mushrooms with the hallucinogenic properties will be valuable because there is one concept known as hormetic dose or hormetic concentration. So if you think of a poison which is very low, sublethal dose, very low level, it is going to act as a medicine rather than hallucinogenic or psychedelic. So therefore, our many occasions this can be used for various purposes, and even snake venom can be used in very low dose. It acts as a medicine rather than poison. So therefore, this whatever the poisonous mushrooms, we need not worry about it, but it can be used with regard to hormetic dose is concerned in order to cure some of the diseases of human beings. And this is another mushroom, is Ophiocordis of nutans. It has tripartite association. With the tripartite association means this fungus is attacking in imperfect state. It attacks Cassina glauca, that is a very common plant species in Western Ghats and southern India and even northern India too. And these are all the bugs, Heliomorpha halis. They are sap-sucking insects, and when they suck the sap, what happens? Invariably, they are going to take the hirsutella. It is the imperfect state of Cordyceps nutans, and in the juice, it is bark will be damaged, and it is going to suck the juice. Through that, it is going to get the hirsutella, that is the fungus, imperfect fungus, and when this fungus is going to start utilizing the nutrients of the animal and start producing the perfect state. So the Ophiocordis nutans is especially from the thoracic region, sometimes from the head region, occasionally from the abdomen region, it is going to project out and produce the root bodies. So these are all fallen. This is the region where this Cassina glauca plant, where a lot of fallen insects and attacked by them, and then after some time it is going to produce the stroma like this. See, the Ophiocordis of nutans is first time reported from the Western Ghats from our student, myself and my student, Taram Chinappa and myself. So this is another one I have already mentioned, Astreus hygrometricus. So the Astreus hygrometricus is this is the young stage. Looks like baby potatoes, and whereas when it matures, it is going to open up and it is going to be flat on the surface of the soil. Whereas the Astreus that is odoratus, not like that. It is going to curl back its petal-like structures backside, and it sits on the surface, something like a spider or some animal is sitting on the floor like that. But it is interesting one is they are producing astrodoric acid A and B will be produced by these mushrooms, and it is edible and of course medicinal. It is antimicrobial in nature. Therefore, both of them in young stage, hygrometricus and the young stage of odoratus will be used, and it is definitely required for human being. So the point is they are edible, they are ectomycorrhizal, and also they are medicinal. So therefore, they are going to be advantageous for human beings. Similarly, there are so many other mushrooms. For example, Chlamydia velutipus is an edible mushroom, and it is cultivated too. And it is very common in the basins of banana plants. So this is, we have taken from picture from the banana plant, where the basins of banana plant, the Flammulina velutipus is there, and it produces flammulonide and also the two different types of flammulonide. This is cytotoxic. These are, they produce cytotoxic terpenoids. So that means they are edible and they are also useful. Cytotoxic properties we got this mushroom. So next one is Ganoderma. Ganoderma, everybody is aware that Chinese are using extensively Ganoderma. It is medicinal. They produce antiviral properties because hydrozibone is produced, and similarly other type of Ganoderma is also produced ganoderic acid. So they have the property to reduce the tumor invasion is possible using this type of mushrooms. And Cyathus, the bird nest fungus, you can see the beauty of this bird nest fungus. It's something like it has the eggs inside the basket-like thing. Like these are all young ones; they are growing. They produce Cyathusol and also pulvinatal. These are the compounds by Cyathus, and the keen observation is necessary to see such type of mushrooms growing on the soil as well on wood material. They are potent antioxidants. So then cordyceps and Ophiocordyceps. Ophiocordyceps I have already mentioned. See, this is the insect that is the stink bugs from the thorax it has grown, and they are very strong and not fragile. It is not possible to bend, or it is not possible to break this so easily. So this is the perfect state of your cordyceps. Newtons, they produce cordycepin. It is anti-neoplastic in nature. And these 6 different types of cordyceps we obtained a few years ago in our campus, Mangalore University campus. And they are very important with regard to human, that is insect control is concerned. You can see here grasshopper. This is the larvae attacked by them. This is a millipede. On the millipede it has grown, and this is oblique type of cocoons. This is spherical cocoon, and this is another organism where it has grown like that. So all of them are very important because they produce epicocin. It is antiviral in nature. So this is the Hericium serratum. Hericium serratum has been first time reported from the Western Ghats from our group, Karun Chinnappa and myself. And these are referred as monkey head mushroom or lion mane mushroom or tooth fungi. So instead of gills, they have tooth. Very interesting material, tooth. And this is the high power projection of the tooth where they are going to shed the spores like that. And a very interesting point, it is not growing on the soil so easily. It grows on the canopy, tree canopy. So one should also look for not only soil or wood that is fallen on the ground. One should also look into the mushrooms of this kind of mushrooms in the canopy, and it is possible to get some of them like that. So another Rhizome erinaceous is very important in human nutrition because it's if you isolate proteins, these proteins of Rhizome erinaceous is immunostimulation is possible, apoptosis is possible, and simple extract need not necessary to isolate it. Simple extract will be responsible for growth arrest and also anti-metastatic property. And you can isolate polysaccharides, their immunostimulation is possible. And also cerebroside E can be isolated. It is angiogen arrest is possible. You use the highly medicinal mushroom. So this is Somatopsis penicola. Some time ago, Dr. Sunil Deshmukh has shown this picture, especially a video showing the release of spores, fume-like spores produced by Penicola, that is Somatopsis species. Just like some fumes are coming out of this, they are releasing the spores and spread the spores. And simple extract need not necessary to isolate the active principle. It has process property and the migration arrest property. You can isolate ergosterol. It is very specific for filamentous fungi. It is apoptosis is possible, and also migration arrest it can perform. And even simple polysaccharides can do several jobs with regard to Fomitopsis pinicola is concerned. Red banded polypore. It is having a very nice red band can be seen here. And this is another mushroom, Ganoderma lucidum, as we are aware that they produce beta glucans. Beta glucans are very, very important. Beta glucans are not digested in our body, in our intestine, gastrointestine. But what happens is these beta glucans are going to stimulate, the immunostimulation is possible by that. And many polysaccharides of mushrooms are referred as prebiotics. Prebiotics refer to especially the if you think of polysaccharides of some of them, they act as prebiotics. Prebiotics means they are going to stimulate probiotic organisms like bifidum, lactobacillus bifidum and lactobacillus species, and various propionic acid bacteria. All such things will be stimulated because of this polysaccharide. They are referred as prebiotics because it will not be digested. For example, inulin is one of them, and it will not be digested in the body, in our intestine, but it is going to stimulate the probiotic organisms, and these beta glucans are going to act on breast border, and intestinal stimulity will be immunostimulity will be increased. And this picture is showing that the cancerous cell is killed by this immunostimulating features. Though not cancerous cells, what happens? It is always the mushroom material always stimulating the brush border to have immunostimulus in order to kill some of the viruses and other organisms, pathogenic organisms that is entering into gastrointestinal system. So like that, there are so many advantages using some of the mushrooms. So this is referred as chaga mushroom. Uh, Inonotus obliquus. This is a very, very, very nice mushroom. When it is in the young stage and near maturing stage, it is having a very good crimson red color. Looks like something like a ball, red, brown ball kept on the canopy of the tree. It always grows in the canopy of the tree. It is in front of, it is very close to our department. It grows. But when it matures, it is going to become very dirty. Looks like dirty, something like a cow dung like material. But it has, we can extract ergosterol peroxide from that. It has growth arrest, and simple extract is going to give us growth arrest as well as apoptosis, and polysaccharides can be isolated. That is going to migration arrest is possible, immunostimulation is possible, polyphenols can be isolated with different properties, and like that, notice obliquus is chaga mushroom is very useful. So there are several marketed materials like bioimmunogen, breast defend, breast mate. These are all some of the products of mushrooms that is having some property like killer, that is support killer T cells, prevent proliferation of breast cancer, and anti-cancer features, and enhance the immunity, regulate the blood sugar, and some of them are cytotoxic. So this picture is going to show the 2017 statistics about 129,000 metric tons will be produced, but it is not enough for the population what we have, and the demand is not going to meet because China is superseding, that is top one in the production, and India is not raised above the x-axis because our interest is still pending, and that's where we lack some of the efficiency. So there are certain reasons why mushrooms are liked or disliked like that. So one first thing is non-availability of economic support. So somebody should support. Economic support is very, very important in order to grow the mushrooms or popularize the mushrooms like. And lack of efforts to popularize edible mushrooms in spite of abundant raw materials, because we have a lot of raw materials, a lot of agricultural waste. It will be burnt rather than utilize it tangibly. So any type of agricultural waste is useful for us, provided if you convert that material into food. That is first choice. Second choice, if it is not possible to produce food from that, is it possible to produce fuel? So that is fuel is very important for human. In third situation, if it is not possible to produce food and fuel, is it possible to convert into economically viable fertilizer? So fertilizer means that is organic manure can be projected, and organic manure can be used various ways. Of course, we have other methods of popularizing the compost production and such things, and lack of research and picking, grading, and preservation. There are so many issues pertaining to wild mushrooms are eaten, and wild mushrooms are eaten by tribals, and tribal mycology is coming up in a very big way, because although we are all mycologists, we are not in close with the tribals. So that is very, very important in order to learn how do they identify the non-poisonous one, how do they use such type of material for purposes, what is the way in which they are going to cook the mushroom for benefit, like, and poor management, marketing, and such things. And there is a lot of scope to use mushrooms, nutritional, as I mentioned, medicinal, substrate dependent. They are dependent on substrate, maybe wood or soil or termite mound, ant hill, and on any type of dead material. It is growing, and ectomycorrhizal roots, leaf material, wood material, like that. There are so many substrate choice will be there. And actually, in fact, the tribals are going to identify edible mushroom based on the substrate on which it has grown. So especially they know this type of wood is going to produce edible mushrooms, like that. So that is one of the views what we got it. And they were important in solid waste management. And this is the last slide, and I'm thankful to my department, Mangalore University, Department of Biosciences, for sustaining me with all my interest in mycology, and they support me a lot. And then MycoIndia, MycoAsia, Association of Fungal Biologists are always supporting me in one way or the other. And so therefore, very important to associate with this organization. My PhD students, for example, Sudeep Nagamangalam from Kerala, he has worked with me. Karan Chinnappa from Kodagu, he has worked with me on mushrooms. Sudeep Ghate, he is from Maharashtra, Karnataka. He is in Mangalore. He has done some work on mushrooms, nutrition and all. Pavitra Mune is another person who has worked with me for mushrooms. She is from Kasaragod region. Grishma Ayana from Kodagu, she has also worked on mushrooms with me. And that is the product, this material what I produced is the product of those things. And thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Could you please stop presenting? Thank you. No. Mainly this, stop presenting.
Stop presenting. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful presentation. I think there is a saying in Kannada, "Olle ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಾಂದಿ ಹಾಡಿದ." I mean, that's what you did. Whole program. Thank you very much, and we will take some questions. Maybe for next 10 minutes, we'll have a small discussion. Anybody interested to ask you questions, they can ask you. If you have, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please you raise your hand. Please raise your hand. We will let you ask the question. Okay. First one is Dr. Chandan. Let me unmute all of you. Dr. Chandan. And other people, please mute you. Otherwise, I will remove from the program. Only Dr. Chandan will unmute.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, my question is regarding inonotus, that is chaga mushroom. Sir, your group has work on the inonotus mushroom, yes?
Not really a chaga mushroom. It is available in
Yeah. This my question is what, sir? Chaga mushroom is also available in India. That is true, no, sir? Yes. Yeah. I have also reported this in our Madhya Pradesh also. So my question is, do you think that there will be any chemical constituent different if it is obtained or collected from different substrate? Like, see, it is obtained from the plants, different species of plant, and the this chaga mushroom, if obtained from different type of plant, there might be some change in the chemical constituent or not. This is my question to know, sir. It is impossible.
See this. No, this actually chaga mushroom grows on some dead material. Of course, what we saw in chaga mushroom grows on trees where some of the dead parts are there. For example, they are very common on Pangea pinnata.
It's common.
Some branches are dead, or some part of branches are dead where it is growing like that. And likely they have different substrates on which they are growing. So one of the important aspects we can think of is there are two aspects. One is the flesh of the mushroom. Okay, one can think of that, but it can produce after maturity it produces huge amount of spores. Entire biomass will be converted into spores.
Yes, sir. All converted into spores. Yes, sir.
Yes. But see, if you think of the flesh, if you evaluate, and the only spores if you evaluate, probably you may get different features altogether with regard to their medicinal properties are concerned.
Yes.
So therefore, it is better you collect the flesh when it is moderately young. Then you can also allow that to mature and collect large amount of spores. Probably you may get half a kg or
yes.
Spores like that.
Yes, sir. In our region, sir, we obtain this from maximum from Deinonyx regia, Sigilpinaceae family, Deinonyx regia. And that was my question, that if it is collected from Pungamia pinnata or if it is collected from this Deinonyx regia,
it may differ.
It
may differ because it is as far as we know, I have seen only in canopy rather than soil. Maybe dead wood also may be possible, but I don't know whether they are growing on live material also.
Yes, sir. It grows, sir. It grows, sir.
Grows on live plant. I also assume like that. Fungi pinnata, where we can every year we can get those things. There are some specific places where we can get.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you
very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 a.m. Indian Standard Time. We have time for only two more quick questions. Nagendra Chandra, please.
Hello, good morning, sir. Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
This is today due to nice session, and we have learned a lot of things, sir. So my first question, sir, is mite, so especially the cordyceps mushroom developed from some mites, some insect. So is it only for some particular insect? Yeah, it may be belong to different species of the insect.
No, actually, cordyceps, there are so many things. See, some of them will grow on the larva, young stage, and some of them grow on the, for example, cicadas. On cicada, some of them are growing. And stink bugs, they may be specific depending on the insect seasonality, on which plant it is going to attack. And that plant is going to defend itself through this mushroom, this fungi, maybe cordyceps like that. And the specificity is like this. For example, some plants may have cordyceps in the form of imperfect state as endophytes, and it will enter into the insects, and insects will suffer because of that, like that. That is how the plants are controlling insect, that is pests. Natural insect pests can be controlled like that. And there may be definitely some specificity. I'm sure about that. But only thing is one has to very carefully study various the cordyceps and what are their hosts and what are their plant hosts. See, it is a sort of tripartite association: plant and the insect and the fungus. Hello.
Okay, sir. So, so just I want to, So I just want to know, sir. So, is there any laboratory condition will differ from natural condition in terms of bioactive components?
See,
same the cordyceps.
Actually, cordyceps has been grown in laboratory, in different laboratories. They are growing, and sometimes what happens, it produces only mycelia. Okay, and even mycelia will also have similar properties like stroma. And somehow in the laboratory conditions, even stroma can also grow, and it produces fruit body, and fruit body can also be extracted like that. See, now the situation is we have a lot of fermentation techniques where it can be grown in the laboratory and check whether it is similar or dissimilar, like with that our nature is concerned. So your earlier question was on the insect. If it grows on insect, what are the medicinal properties? If it is growing on the or in the fermentation broth, what is the property, like that? So therefore, these are all some the critical questions. It has to be answered by mycologists like you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
the last question. Thank you. The last question is from Rishabh
Yes,
Payment.
sir. Great session. I would like to ask now. I know for the fact that Cordyceps militaris has medicinal properties against malassezia. I would
Mhm.
like to know if I use the extracts from the Cordyceps, what would be the cytotoxic effects concerned with it? Like common cytotoxic effects that I should look into.
Yeah, that may be one of the ideas where we can think of cytotoxic property can be exploited for the purpose. Like I don't have any specific examples, but some
I'm
of the
sorry, I wanted to know the cytotoxic effects on the host cells because I'm developing a formulation for an anti-dandruff formulation. So I'm doing the
uh-huh.
cytotoxic effects on
uh,
the scalp.
so the host on which it is growing, is it on the insect? Like
I am not too that researched about it, but I read a statement somewhere like this. That's why I just wanted your input on it.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Uh, I'm not very sure about about that, but it is cytotoxic. That is the reason why insect will be killed because it is cytotoxic.
Not for the insects, sir. Against malassezia fungi.
Ah,
Yeah, which
see,
is commonly present on the scalp. Like it's
yeah, that's correct. Correct. I know
yeah.
malassezia is one of the diseases, skin diseases.
So
Uh,
suppose I include an extract from Cordyceps, since it
hmm.
already has antifungal properties against malassezia, are there any safety concerns like with respect to the scalp?
uh, I don't think there is any much problem with regard to that is human will be affected by that. It's probably this yeast can be that malassezia can be controlled by that, provided if you use a specific technique like. So it can be used as a topical application rather
Yes,
than using intravenous or intraperitoneal, like, isn't it? It is a topical
yes.
application. Malassezia is on the surface of the skin, and topical applications. I don't think there will be any big problem with the.
Yeah, no, there's no deep problem with it.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay,
what I.
so one more doubt, last one.
Yeah.
You spoke
No,
about
no, no.
the
Sorry,
okay, okay, no
sorry, I'm
problem.
sorry.
Okay, no.
I'm sorry, we are running out of time. Sorry, Pimenta. You can discuss with Professor Sridhar in MycoIndia group. He's on our MycoIndia WhatsApp group thing. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes. Thank you.
Any final comments from Dr. Rohit Sharma, Managing Editor of MycoIndia?
Thank you, Dr. Shinoy. Am I audible?
Yes, Rohit, you're audible. Yes.
So, thank you, Professor Sridhar. I think it's always a pleasure to listen to him, and thank you for giving an enlightenment into and elaborated the medicinal plant properties of various mushrooms with identity as well as with the bioactive compound. Each mushroom was focused with these two properties, and also in elaborating the scope of the different mushrooms which are still to be looked upon, and also the importance of the substrates, like where it is growing. So thank you so much, and thank you for answering all the questions, sir. Thank you so much. You still inspire all of us
Thank
with so much of work. Thank you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please stay with us. Thank you. Rohit, you can take over
Yes.
from me.
Yeah. So moving ahead, our next speaker is Mr. Aditya Srinivas.